Hello friends, welcome to Friday Beyond Spotlights, Hong Kong's new insightful program looking into the lives of our most remarkable high achievers and getting their take on the city's past, present and future.
Our guests will give their personal perspectives for a new generation, inspiring Hong Kong for a better society.
So sit back and relax and we'll take you beyond the spotlights.
Welcome back to Friday Beyond Spotlights. This is Patrick Tsang. I'm a local Hong Kong businessman, entrepreneur, and philanthropist. On Friday Beyond Spotlights, we invite prominent guests to share their insights into current affairs, business, innovation, and culture. Today, we're very pleased to have my dear friend, Professor Tony Mok, join us. Tony is a very dear friend and a local celebrity. He is a superstar in his own field, in the field of clinical research on cancer and oncology. Welcome to the show, Tony.
Thank you, Patrick, for the kind introduction.
Now, back in 1996, as we all remember, a lot of people were actually moving away from Hong Kong. But you did the reverse. You came back to Hong Kong. Can you share with us why you did that?
I see Hong Kong as a fertile ground, and actually it's my mandate to be able to work with China to develop research and actually to develop cancer care. And I think that is exactly what the entrepreneurial spirit is about, is uncertainty, bring you to a land of so-called unforeseeable future.
Can you share us a little bit more about how Hong Kong has helped your career development?
When I first come back, at age 36, I actually did not have much research experience. At that time, the most prominent field in oncology was research in liver cancer and nasopharyngeal cancer, because those are the two quote-unquote Asian cancer. Now, lung cancer was one field that actually very limited treatment, and nobody wanted to touch the field because there's very little advancement. So I was actually not given a very good deal to start with. But turned out this not so good deal turned out to be a gold mine. The first thing I did is actually a very small scale research. And then based on that, I was able to make a lot of collaboration in China, Singapore, Korea. So we established our lung cancer research group. And then the opportunity come is that in 2004, there's a discovery of a gene called the EGFR mutation, epidermal growth factor receptor. And that is actually one of the first target that we were able to use a targeted therapy to change the outcome. We're able to do the world first randomized study confirming targeted therapy is better than standard chemotherapy in a precision, in a personalized manner. And so that transformed the field, and that's what bring me to the subsequent multiple research project related to lung cancer, biomarker, and immunotherapy. Not being in Hong Kong, I would never get the opportunity.
On the business side, clearly we always see Hong Kong as the linking ground, right, between linking our country and the rest of the world. Does that apply in the medical field or what you do?
I was able to have a number of good friends that work together in Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Beijing. Basically, in the past 20 years, we grew together. So now they are actually the prominent figure both in China and internationally. So in a sense, is that the whole process of growing together from very limited resources research to now a very rich environment that we kind of share the fruit together. So it was a fantastic experience. So we're Songdi, we're just brothers, working together with my Chinese collaborators.
Tony, switching topic to the Greater Bay Area, Hong Kong, Macau, the two special administrative regions, together with the 9 municipalities in the Guangdong province. Everyone's focused in that region now. What would be your advice to entrepreneurs internationally as well as locally in Hong Kong and China on how to take advantage of that opportunity?
The first question I'm being asked is that, what is the scalability? Now, being restricted to Hong Kong, of course, is a very limited scalability, but once you go into the Greater Bay Area, immediately we can apply a much bigger scalability into entrepreneurship. But on the research side, we have to be very careful because that, especially in my field of the cancer research, we need a high quality research center.
In terms of the people that you meet in Hong Kong as well as in the Greater Bay Area, do you sense any difference in terms of their openness in research, in terms of their adoption of technology? Are there any noticeable differences?
The people I work with, they are extremely high quality in terms of their research ability, and also in terms of their facility for research, they are actually top notch. And then the openness, I think, is definitely there. In a sense, is that it's not just on the individual basis, it's on the government level. They're promoting the research in general. They are providing funding. They are providing position to attract the people to return to China. And so I think the opportunity is huge, if that is your intention to make a difference in terms of research in Asia, in China, especially in the Greater Bay Area.
Tony's right. Hong Kong is increasingly becoming the healthcare research and development hub, leveraging the huge market potential of the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area. Maybe there'll be ways for me to stay forever youthful, like you, Yvette.
But aging is part of the fun in life's journey. I won't want to miss it. Also, young people should not miss the new R&D job opportunities with the establishment of InnoLife Health Tech Hub at the Hong Kong Shenzhen Innovation and Technology Park.
Tony, you are one of the few individuals who actually serve as a director on a board of an MNC, multinational corporation. Can you share with us some of your observations in terms of how to attract international players to focus on opportunities in the Greater Bay Area?
The Greater Bay Area had become an important feature of the technology development. So we already noticed that this is one area where we probably can invest in terms of technological development.
So Tony, besides being a very successful doctor, I understand you're also a successful entrepreneur. Maybe share with us some of your successful investments and any investments particularly in the AI space.
Approximately 2.5 years ago, I organized a meeting together with American Society of Clinical Oncology in Bangkok. Attending that meeting, there is a young entrepreneur from Korea. 5 young people met up in college, and they start up this AI company. And they try to apply the AI in healthcare. So we met up, we kind of talk along, and then they invite me to become their advisor subsequently. And I flew over to Korea to discuss how we can do the application. And so what they have been able to do is to use AI to read the pathological slide. And on the slide, they were able to look into something called the tumor lymphocyte infiltration. So look at the lymphocyte, count the cell one at a time to assess how likely that this tumor will be responsive to immunotherapy. So we start up the project, teaching the machine how to read it, and then we try to get a lot of sample from the university in Korea, and then now we're able to actually produce a very nice research project. So I think the opportunity is there, is whether academic to working together with the so-called technology entrepreneur, that we can actually develop something that's good for the population.
We are lucky to be living in a country with a large population. Is that helpful as an entrepreneur, specifically in the biotech sector, when you try to roll out new products or innovations?
The major thing is that don't do it by yourself. I mean, if I go try to be a businessman, I think I'm doomed to fail because I'm not a businessman. But then being able to find a young partner who can work together with you. So in the meantime, I can provide the technological know-how and also experience and insight and connection, while the young person can develop the business part. So I was lucky, to be able to find that young entrepreneur to work together as our CEO. And then we can, in short 5 years, from a very 1.5-man company to now a significant company in the area, not just Hong Kong, but also in Thailand and Taiwan, and also other country as well. So I think a partnership is important. And now being in the Greater Bay Area, I'm quite sure there's a lot of talent. I think the government probably can do something to facilitate the process, to find this partnership, to move on using a good idea and proliferate into a commercial idea.
What about, Tony, for your own research? Obviously, you're at the very cutting edge, right? Day to day, do you employ a lot of technology or AI technology to achieve what you want to achieve?
Most definitely. Like, for example, what transformed healthcare are actually computer power and genomic power. Computer power is easy to understand, but what exactly is genomic power? Meaning that we previously had seen a disease, as an observation of a biological behavior. But now we can go down to the molecular level, down to the DNA, down to the protein level, to understand the mechanism of the disease. We can use this same knowledge to change the nature of the illness. Like the one that I just mentioned earlier, the EGFR mutation, which is something what we call a driver oncogene. So with that being relatively common in Asian, that actually causing the lung cancer, we'd have the specific inhibitor. But then without the ability to detect this EGFR mutation quickly, we're not able to provide the treatment quickly. So the two have to match together. So in our day-to-day now, we are doing genomic analysis on all the patient. We are actually applying the information both for research and in clinical practice.
Any advice then you would give Hong Kong or Greater Bay Area in general, how we can also become an AI center or take advantage of the opportunities there?
So I think we really have to encourage young people to use their imagination. We have to be able to step out of our comfort zone, use your imagination, and apply your best know-how into your technology development.
Thank you, Tony. We'll be back later. Welcome back. In this segment, Beyond Spotlight's story, we invite our guests to talk about an event or an item that has special meaning to them. So Tony, what would you like to share with us today?
Certainly, I think the item is quite obvious. It's a 75-year-old typewriter that belonged to my father. And this is first typewriter that he owned to start his import-export business. Maybe I can start the story when he was a child. I mean, he was 11 years old when his father passed away, and that's actually during the Japanese War.
So tough times
there. Very
then.
tough time, and then he became the breadwinner all of a sudden. What can he do, as a 12-year-old kid? So he and his friend sell kerosene, at that time there's no so-called electricity or stuff like that. Kerosene is the major source of energy for the stove. They are actually relatively innovative. They actually use the diesel and distill it into kerosene. And they build their own device. And then I'm surprised they did not explode and kill every one of them. But they did it, and they survived the war just that way. And after that, when he turned 16 after the war, he worked as an office boy to very low-level job and just to keep him alive. But in the same time, he go to night school to learn English, to learn how to use typewriter. By age 20, he actually, he doesn't own a phone, so he go to a store. Those are, the general store. They have the phone. They bought the phone, and then just start his own import and export business. And then initially can only rent the typewriter, and eventually he make enough money to buy the typewriter. I think it's a matter of the resilience and survival. At that time, there's no choice, but being innovative and resilient to the adverse environment and trying to find a breakthrough for himself. And he ended up having a very big family. And then I can tell you that we have 10 brothers and sisters, and each one of us actually have more than one degree, and he support them all. And so from someone who started us as what I call him a kerosene boy, to supporting 10 children to complete college and become someone useful to the society, I think indirectly he contributed a lot to Hong Kong.
So he must be very proud of you all also.
Well, interestingly enough, that he is we're a little bit distant, where he's a very disciplined man. But then we all respect and love him, but we were never too close, in a sense. Maybe he is proud of us, but he never say it. Just like the good old, daddy, that he just said, okay, you're supposed to do what you're supposed to do, type of thing.
Tony, besides being a successful doctor and entrepreneur, you are also a media personality. And I understand besides appearing on shows, you're also an author. Can you tell us a little bit about your writings?
It's actually quite an interesting experience. I actually left Hong Kong when I was 16 and then spent 20 years in Canada. I still read Chinese, but I did not write as much. But when I first come back, I actually still, the environment is mostly English-speaking in the hospital. But until 2006, I actually had the opportunity to interview, just like this one, with one of the magazine, and then talk about some of my research. And then about a few months later, they start, a so-called a segment, looking for a column writer. So they invite me. I said, hey, the last time I write is that, many years ago. But I wrote the first story. That story in English is called "The Doctor Can Cry," and that is the very first story that I write for that magazine. And since then, I have been writing about once or twice a week for the past 15 years. So it's actually become a hobby. It's very interesting. So why I continue to write is the fact that there's a lot of good observation that you see from day to day. It can be about health, about food, about love, about friendship. If you do not write it down, you forget about it. But now that since I am obligated to write to the column, I start to linger on those memories and enrich it into a story and put it down on paper. So it becomes very enjoyable things for me to do. And combined together, right now I have about 7 books together, put all those columns together.
So the emotional side is very important from your perspective.
Emotion has to be part of the human experience, that's for sure. In my writing, I sum as emotion, particularly my relationship with the patient. And then, so that actually to go deep to my heart, when I try to write about something like that. But on the other hand, I write a lot about factual stuff, about science, about COVID, about lung cancer. And so those are the so-called scientific topic. I try to share the information with the public through the column.
Thank you, Tony. We certainly look forward to your future publications.
Thank you.
So, Tony, what well wishes would you like to offer Hong Kong?
I certainly wish Hong Kong continue to be a fertile ground for health, prosperity, and development.
Hong Kong is indeed the fertile ground for healthcare R&D. If a healthy R&D project needs to grow, like this healthy potted plant, you need good seed, soil and nutrition. By analogy, for the project to get off the ground, we have top universities providing talents to seed innovative ideas and technical know-how.
And Hong Kong, as an international finance, innovation and legal center, is the place with all the right resources to serve as nutrients for research to blossom.
Tony, we've now reached our segment where we were going to ask you a number of questions, rapid-fire questions. So just tell us what you think.
Sound like fun?
So what's your favorite color?
No favorite color. It's only a wavelength.
Do you think about retirement? What would you do when you retire?
Now, that is a tough one because I cannot imagine for me to sit around doing nothing. I tried that. It's really annoying.
What's the best compliment someone has given you?
That is actually a tough one. I can share with you one story. I had one patient who happened to be a colleague in this hospital, and he's also a very famous runner. So I look up to him, and then, but he eventually had to pass away. And then just the one day before he passed away, I visited him, and he asked his wife to take a picture. And then in the picture, he just gave me a thumbs up. In the deathbed, giving me a thumbs up. So in a sense, is death success or failure? But in the process of helping him, he showed his appreciation.
So that one image has a lot of
one
meaning.
Image stay in my mind that he was able to, just to show his appreciation, even despite of him facing death. And he did pass away the next day.
Share with us some hidden talents.
Hidden talent. I think my talent is to making complex things simple.
Your proudest moment?
My proudest moment is probably not coming yet. Hopefully, it will be the moment when I die.
Your biggest fear?
My biggest fear that I got buried alive.
Any regrets in life?
Many. Not becoming something like you.
If you can say thank you to someone, dead or alive, who would that be?
Definitely, I would probably say it early to my dad, who just passed away a year and a half ago.
If you can have dinner with anyone in the world, who would that be?
Dead or alive?
Dead or alive?
It would be interesting to meet Lady Diana.
What is the best way to impress you as a medical student?
Asking reasonable, sound, smart, in-depth questions.
Your favorite sport?
I don't think I have one, in the sense of watching. But then for myself, I do love golfing.
Your favorite exercise?
Anything that can prevent me from getting fat is good.
International cuisine, local cuisine, your favorite dish?
Now that is a tough one because there are so many. And then, but I still like the classic Cantonese food in a way that give me the old memorable taste.
If one can choose a way to go, cancer or a heart attack?
Now everybody say heart attack because they thought that they can go quite quickly. However, I can warn you that heart disease does not always go quickly. On the other hand, people always fear that cancer can be a long, lingering death. But on the other hand, but it's not quite true either. A lot of the patients can live a reasonably good quality of life, and then they may not, so-called, the pass away time is short. So I don't think there's one particular disease that can guarantee you a good, easy exit. But I can guarantee you, everybody want a good, easy exit. For that, you have to be friends with your doctor.
Thank you, Tony, for spending time with us today.
Thank you, Patrick, for the invitation.
Thank you very much for enjoying this episode of Friday Beyond Spotlights. I am Patrick Tsang, your host, signing off.
Professor Mok has such excellent research experience and knowledge that puts him in a unique position as an industry leader.
He has written over 220 articles in international renowned medical journals. A special person with great ideas, charisma, and energy.
Thank you for watching Friday Beyond Spotlights. Until next time, goodbye.